Hello everyone, I'd like to talk about some specific spiritual trends that have been happening on planet Earth. Between different traditions, between different religions, between different spiritual practices, basically. And now this is just kind of a cover of them. It's not a in detail or in-depth coverage of all the spiritual trends happening on the Earth, because that would take many, many hours, and I'm just giving a brief overview of some of them. But let's get started. Okay, some of the connections that I've seen are many people are seeing connections between karma and magic. Now, magic, as understood in the West, defined by Crowley, and that's magic with a CK at the end, is basically the energy of belief, of directed willpower. That which one works in the subtler realms to affect this more material realm. And this force is directed by the human mind, by a sentient being. Now, it can be directed by other sentient beings, but specifically, I'm talking about humanity on this planet. Now, many people see a connection between magic and karma, but that's not necessarily how Crowley understood it. But there have been many comparisons between karma and magic in recent years. And, karma comes from the East. It comes from Hinduism, and then it kind of transferred into Buddhism as an expansion. But there does seem to be a division in magic, in magical traditions, where either you believe that karma exists, or you believe that it does not, that it simply isn't a reality. Now, the witch's code of three is that whatever you send out into the universe, it's going to be sent back to you 3 times as hard. It's going to be multiplied 3 times. And this is basically the law of karma, except a little bit exacerbated. And that has been part of the code of Wiccans in recent years. But that connection wasn't always made. In recent years, karma and witch's rule of 3 has really found a union. And that's the same and true with different magical traditions. Different magical traditions are starting to find out that karma does exist. And the ones who do not believe that karma exists are basically the black magicians. The ones who purely believe in willpower and the ability to manipulate creation without any effects as long as you do it properly. Now I'm going to move on to another area. Move on to Asatru gaining followers. Now, Asatru is basically a Reconstructionist religion. It means true to the Aesir. The Aesir are basically the Viking Nordic gods. The name for them are the Aesir. And these are basically the gods that we have very little information on. But people in recent times, like Raven Caldera and others like him, new shamans that have connected with these forces, these gods, these primordial energies, even through the runes, have basically pioneered a reconnection with these energies, with these forces, with these beings. And this did not happen until very recently. Asatru is a very new Reconstructionist religion. And basically, in the last 400 or 500 years, there's very little understanding or attempt at understanding of the Aesir, of the gods of the Nordic people, the Northern Europeans. But now that we have shamans that are trying to connect with them again, now that we're uncovering certain runestones with histories on them, we're uncovering historical data through anthropologists who study these sites that have relics from ancient battles. And we just recently found out in the last decade that the Vikings were actually the first Europeans to land on the northeastern coast of the United States. We didn't always know that, and that's something that sparked a new renaissance in how we understand the Vikings and how far they went and their place in the world, their place in history. And the more you try to connect with these old gods, you start to realize that they are vast pieces of consciousness on a universal level. They're not just placed here on Earth. They're not just placed in the human mind. They are primordial and overarching effects and energies that exist in reality and that are an intrinsic part of reality. We may call them by different names. We may call them by different names and pray to them in different ways, different languages. People on other planets, other sentient beings, might see them and understand them a little bit differently. But these cosmic forces, these cosmic forces that we put a human face on, that we put very human desires upon, them having the same desires as us. They are essential beings in the universe, in the multiverse, Yggdrasil, and in Asatru, in Viking mythology, there are 9 different worlds, but these are better understood in our present context as 9 different dimensions, because it's not worlds in the sense of in this galaxy, it's worlds in the sense of different dimensions. And there's a greater understanding of that and how it connects to dimensions and how these gods connect to universal forces. But my point is that this is gaining followers, it's gaining popularity, because this is another trend upward in understanding of the spiritual forces that exist and our connection to them from the material realm. Now, the last one that I'll talk about before I make a conclusion is the Vodou Loa reaching out. Now, when I say Vodou, I'm specifically referring to Vodou. That's how you say it, but I say it Vodou because that's kind of how I've always said it. But the Loa are basically spirits. And now, the specific form of Vodou that I follow is from Haiti, and that's why it's called Vodou. There's a tradition of the Orishas, there's Santeria, and there's other forms of and mixtures of African traditions with native traditions and white traditions that exist in other parts around the Americas, basically, and of course in Africa. But basically, when the Africans were forcibly taken this way, these traditions mixed with the natives. But the particular form that I practice is Vodou. Vodou, that's how you say it. But they have been reaching out to random people in recent years. Many people have said that they felt the call of the Loa, and they didn't really know why, because they didn't really have a connection to the Loa. But they have felt it, and they have been drawn to connect with this Haitian tradition that really hasn't gained much notoriety in the last 300 years. I mean, since the time of its founding in Haiti, basically, when they rose up against the slave masters. Now, this may not seem significant, but since so many people that aren't even part African, aren't even part native from that land, aren't even French, don't even speak the language, are being called, like, for instance, Kinez Filant. He's one of the authors that I've read books on that makes his claim that the Loa are calling other people to them. I mean, that's what I understand from what he said. I don't want to say that's a direct quote. That's my feeling of what he said, and I've heard other spiritually inclined people make this claim. Now, why is this happening? I don't know why it's happening, but I think it's because Haiti as an island is dying, and the Loa want to branch out. And these Loa, I believe, exist in different dimensions. They don't exist just on the Haitian island. I think that they want to have connection to us because their specific connection to us is through Vodou and Haiti. Vodou. But this has been a trend as well. Many people are being called a Vodou. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the overarching idea of dimensions. Now, this is an idea that spans many spiritual faiths and many understandings of God and the different levels below Him until you reach the one absolute. Now, all these different traditions, even all the different religions, they have an understanding of dimensions, but it's not called dimensions. Dimensions is a relatively new word. It's a scientific word. It's a theory, dimensional theory. But there's always this connection to the idea that there are different planes of existence within the same space. There's different frequencies of reality that exist within the same space, but at different, I will loosely say vibrations. And these different vibrations create dimensions. They create different phases of being. And when you get when you get to the very low vibrations, you get to the hells, you get to the very basic, very material realms of existence. Ours is a material realm, but it's not all the way down. Now, when you get to the very high vibrations, you get to the heavens, the abode of the gods, the planes of existence where you were either rewarded or you were working towards even higher planes. And you know, below is basically the abyss, and the lower you go, the more abyssal you get, and the more of the abyss you're a part of. Basically, all the filth, all the pain, all the suffering, all the very evil spirits, very evil souls who decide and choose to be evil can choose to fall down into this abyssal circling hole that goes on forever, just like the positive side of reality goes up forever. And I don't think anybody will go down into the abyss forever. I think eventually everybody has to work their way back up because they start to realize how terrible it is to fall down. But these different planes have equivalencies in all different traditions, in all different religions, in all different spiritual traditions. And for instance, in Asatru, a Reconstructionist Northern European religion, there's the realm of Nidhogg, which is at the bottom, where the Oathbreakers go to basically decay on misty islands where Nidhogg will chew at their remains. And those who die in battle and die gloriously go to Valhalla. And that's the Hall of Victory, the Hall with Odin. And you enjoy your time there until basically everything in creation is destroyed, everything in creation below the source, which is a very different distinction. But there are other realms in between. There's Niflheim and Muspelheim, which are different elemental realms, kind of above the realm of Nidhogg. And right above this realm, there's also the realm of the Vanir, which are the more cyclical nature gods. But anyway, this is just an example. There are equivalencies in all different religions, all different spiritual faiths, if you look hard enough. But I just wanted to cover these things very briefly, some of the trends, and kind of how I think the dimensional idea connects to all these different things. But if you've stuck with me this long, thank you very much for watching, and I will definitely produce more videos on topics related to this in the future. But y'all have a great one.